Uche sat on a wooden bench outside their small rented room in Ajegunle, rocking his newborn daughter in his arms. Sweat ran down his face, not from heat, but fear. His wife, Ngozi, stood in front of him with a bag in her hand and no tears in her eyes. "I can't do this anymore," she said coldly. "I didn't sign up for this kind of suffering. I'm too beautiful for this." Uche's voice cracked. "Please, don't leave. At least think about our baby. Please," he begged. But she didn't even look at the child. She walked away like a stranger, her footsteps fading along with his last hope. He looked down at his baby girl, wrapped in an old wrapper. "Don't worry, Adora," he whispered. "Papa will never leave you." He was a man with no money, no support, and no wife. Just a child and a promise to protect her. And that promise would change everything. The next morning, Uche stood by the roadside with a small wooden stand and a sack of corn. His hands trembled as he lit the firewood and placed the cobs carefully on the wire mesh. With Adora strapped to his back in a faded cloth, he roasted corn and prayed with every customer. "Buy from me, please," he'd beg with dignity. People often pitied him. Some laughed, some mocked, but he didn't care. He would rather walk than beg. When Adora cried, he would sing to her gently, rocking her with his body while roasting the corn with one hand. He ate only what was left at the end of the day. At night, they returned to their one-room face me, I face you house, where he bathed her in a small bowl and sang lullabies. He cried quietly many nights, hiding his tears from his daughter, but deep down he believed one day God would reward his faithfulness. Uche knelt beside his mattress, the smoky scent of roasted corn still clinging to his clothes. Adora lay asleep beside him, her tiny chest rising and falling. He prayed silently but with all his heart. "God, I don't have much, but I give you everything. Just help me raise this child right. Don't let her suffer." He fasted often, giving his food to his daughter. He saved every naira, no matter how small. He began asking neighbors for books so he could teach Adora letters as she grew. Everyone thought he was wasting time. "She's just a girl," they said. "What can a corn seller teach her?" But Uche believed differently. He spoke life into Adora daily. "You are destined for greatness," he'd say. "You will not end like me. You will not end like your mother. I'm just a step for you to rise higher." And even though the future was unclear, Uche held on to one thing: hope. Adora's first steps came as a surprise in the middle of Uche's corn sales. One minute he was turning a cob, and the next, she stood up on her own and stumbled forward. He dropped the corn and clapped like a child. "My Ada, you're walking." The crowd around smiled, some even cheered. It was a small moment, but to Uche, it was everything. He began carrying her to the stand less often, using old planks to build a small play area nearby. He wanted her to grow up safe, even if they lived on the edge of survival. But things were getting harder. Rainy season came. Business dropped. Sometimes he had no money to buy more corn. He'd go to bed hungry, while Adora fed on watery pap. But he never gave up. And through all the suffering, Adora never stopped smiling. To Uche, her smile was God whispering, "Keep going, you're not alone." By age 5, Adora could read signs on the road, count money, and speak English better than most of the neighbors' children. Uche would watch proudly as she helped him count change at the corn stand. Customers began to notice. "This your daughter is smart, oh," they'd say. One woman, a retired teacher named Mama Bisi, noticed her one day. "This child has a gift," she said. "Let me be teaching her for free after school hours." It was the blessing Uche had been praying for. Adora would sit with Mama Bisi every evening, learning with chalk and broken slates. Uche watched her grow with joy in his heart and pain in his bones. He still sold corn, still lived in one room, still struggled. But now, he was no longer alone in his journey. His little girl was rising, and so was his hope. One evening, as the sun set behind the zinc roofs of Ajegunle, Adora sat beside her father, eyes full of curiosity. "Papa," she asked softly, "where is my mommy?" The question pierced Uche's heart like a knife. He looked at his daughter's innocent face, her big brown eyes blinking with hope. He forced a smile. "She's not here anymore, my child. Did she die? Adora asked. No, he replied quietly. She left when you were very small. Adora didn't understand, but she nodded. Maybe she'll come back. Uche turned his face away quickly before the tears showed. Maybe, he whispered. That night, as Adora slept, Uche looked at the cracked ceiling and cried in silence. Not because his wife left, but because he feared the pain his daughter might one day carry. So, he made another promise to God. Even if her mother never comes back, I will give this girl double love. One Saturday, as Uche roasted corn by the roadside, a street preacher passed by, singing hymns and sharing Bible tracts. He stopped at Uche's stand and noticed Adora reading a flyer aloud perfectly. The preacher, surprised, said, "This girl is too sharp. What school does she attend?" Uche sighed. "She hasn't started school yet. I can't afford the fees." The preacher smiled and pulled out a business card. "I know someone who sponsors children like her. Go to this place and tell them Pastor Ikenna sent you." Uche held the card like gold. He stared at the words again and again, his heart beating fast. That night, he cleaned Adora's best dress, a second-hand gown from a neighbor, and braided her hair with shaky hands. This might be their chance. He didn't sleep, because when hope knocks on a poor man's door, even hunger steps aside. Adora's feet skipped along the dusty path as Uche walked her to Divine Grace Academy, the school Pastor Ikenna recommended. They were both nervous. The school gate was painted blue and gold, a sharp contrast to the grey of their world. "Are we allowed to go in?" Adora asked. Uche held her hand tightly. "Yes, God has opened the door." Inside, the woman in charge read the letter from the sponsor and smiled. "Your daughter's school fees have been fully paid. Uniforms, books, everything. You're welcome." Uche couldn't believe it. He knelt down right there and cried, "Thank you, Jesus, thank you." When Adora returned home that day, she brought stories of desks, blackboards, and a teacher who smiled at her. Uche roasted his corn with tears of joy in his eyes. That night, as Adora slept, he whispered, "This is the beginning, my child. We are not forgotten." As school continued, things got tougher. Uche's corn business was slow, and sometimes they had nothing to eat. He would drink garri with salt while giving Adora pap or small bread, but she noticed. "Papa, are you hungry?" she asked one night. "No, my princess, I'm okay." But Adora's eyes filled with tears. "I don't like it when you don't eat." Uche smiled and hugged her tightly. "One day, we will eat whatever we want. Just be patient." To help, Adora began helping him after school, arranging corn, sweeping the area, and collecting change from customers. She always smiled, never complained. But one evening, she fainted on the roadside. Uche screamed, carried her, and rushed to a nearby chemist. "She's malnourished," the woman said. "Feed her well." That night, Uche couldn't sleep. He stared at the ceiling, his stomach growling, and prayed, "God, if you won't bless me, bless my child. Let her live. Let her shine." The next day, Uche was roasting corn as usual when a shiny black car parked nearby. A well-dressed woman stepped out. She was light-skinned, wearing a gold wrapper. She bought one corn and noticed Adora helping her father count change. "You taught her this?" the woman asked. "Yes, ma, she's smart," Uche said proudly. The woman bent down to Adora's level. "What do you want to become when you grow up?" "I want to be a doctor, ma, so I can help Papa when he's sick." The woman's eyes softened. She gave Uche her card. "Call me, I want to help her." Uche looked at the card like a treasure. When the car drove off, he held Adora close. "God has remembered us again," he whispered. And for the first time in years, he dared to dream. Maybe, just maybe, life was about to change. Uche stared at the woman's business card for days before finding the courage to call. His hands shook as he dialed. "Hello?" came her calm voice. "Good evening, ma. This is the corn seller. Uche, we met last week." "Oh yes," she said warmly. "I've been expecting your call. I want to sponsor your daughter's full education." Uche was speechless. Ma, God bless you. She continued. Bring her to my foundation's office in Ikeja. She deserves better. He fell to his knees after the call, sobbing like a baby. That night, he sat beside Adora as she slept, gently touching her hair. You are going to shine, my daughter, he whispered. Even the sky is not your limit. What Ngozi ran away from another woman was helping to build. Sometimes, strangers carry the blessings your own family throws away. Adaora started attending one of the best schools in Ikeja. Full uniform, shiny shoes, and all books provided. She looked different, more confident, but she never forgot who she was. Every evening, she still helped Uche with his corn, even when classmates laughed at her. My papa gave me everything, she told them, even when we had nothing. Teachers noticed her brilliance. She won spelling bees, math quizzes, and even wrote poems that moved the school to tears. Uche didn't understand most of what she said anymore, but he clapped and smiled proudly at every award. When people asked if he was her driver or uncle, Adora would say boldly, "He's my father, the best man in the world." And each time, Uche's heart swelled with joy. He had lost a wife, but he had gained a star. One cool evening, as Uche packed up his corn stand, a familiar voice called his name. He turned and froze. Rosie stood before him, dressed in fancy clothes and makeup, holding a small designer purse. Her eyes scanned him from head to toe. "You're still here?" she said with a smirk. Uche was silent. "I came to see how you're doing," she added. "Maybe I can help you now." Before he could reply, Adora stepped out from the shed nearby. "Who's she?" she asked in shock. Ngozi's smile faded. She hadn't expected Adora to be so grown, so poised, and so distant. "This is the woman who left us," Adora asked coldly. Uche didn't answer. In that moment, Ngozi realized something. She had abandoned a seed that grew into gold. Ngozi tried to reconnect with Adora. She bought gifts, offered money, and even tried to take her to the mall. But Adora wasn't interested. "I don't know you," she said softly but firmly. "My father is enough." Ngozi cried. "I was confused. I didn't know things would turn out this way." Uche listened silently. He wasn't angry anymore, just tired. He said, "You left when we were nothing, but God showed us we didn't need you to rise." Adaora added, "We don't hate you, but you don't get to call me daughter after all these years." Ngozi left in tears, broken by the truth. Sometimes, life teaches you that regret is heavier than poverty. At age 18, Adora was invited to speak at an international youth conference in Abuja. She wore a fitted Ankara dress, her natural hair tied into a regal bun. On stage, she told the story of her father, a corn seller, who became her hero. The crowd wept. Journalists wrote articles. She trended online. After her speech, she held her father's hand as they walked down the red carpet. A reporter asked, "Is this your driver?" She laughed proudly. "This is my father, my backbone, the man who sold corn so I could go to school." That night, Uche sat alone on their small balcony, looking at the stars. He whispered to the wind, "Thank you, God, for turning my pain into a testimony." After the conference, a wealthy investor approached Adora. "I was moved by your story," he said. "I want to invest in your future. Start your tech company. I'll fund it fully." Adora blinked, stunned. "Sir, are you serious?" He smiled. "Yes. It's not just an investment in business, it's an investment in hope." Uche was quiet when she told him. "Papa," Adora whispered, "this is the door you prayed for." Uche looked at her with tears in his eyes. "Then walk through it, my daughter. You are ready." With the support of mentors and her investor, Adora started Ada Tech Solutions, a company focused on tech education for kids in poor communities. She made sure her first training center was built in Ajigunle, the same place her story began. From roasted corn to boardrooms, her journey had only just begun. The first time Uche stepped into their new mansion in Lekki, he froze. The floors were marble. The walls glowed with warm lights. There were more rooms than he could count. Is this our house? He asked, voice shaking. Adora nodded. Yes, Papa, it's ours. You don't have to sleep on the floor again. He broke down. From wooden benches and cracked ceilings to chandeliers and comfort, it was too much to take in. They sat in the living room together, father and daughter. Uche touched the curtains, the sofa, the polished tiles. Then he turned to her. But you know what I'm most proud of? What? You never forgot where you came from. She hugged him tightly. This mansion wasn't just built with money. It was built with love, sacrifice, and roasted corn. One evening, Adora organized an event at her company's headquarters. Thank you night. Guests from all over Nigeria attended. On stage, she called her father forward. My father, she said, is the reason I'm standing here today. He didn't just raise me. He taught me how to fight, how to believe, how to love. The crowd clapped, many wiping tears. Then she pulled out a car key and handed it to him. This is your car, Papa. The audience gasped. Uche held the key and wept. I used to beg Okada men for rides. Now I have my own. Adora nodded. You deserve more than I can ever give. That night, Uche prayed again, not in desperation, but in gratitude. His suffering had not been in vain. He was living proof that faith and sacrifice never go unrewarded. Years had passed. One day, Adora knocked on a familiar door in a quiet estate. Ngozi opened it. Her face had aged, her eyes sunken. Adora smiled gently. I came to check on you. I forgave you a long time ago. Ngozi dropped to her knees. I don't deserve your kindness. You're still my mother, Adora said. But now I understand life better. Some people leave so others can grow. Ngozi sobbed. You became so great without me. Adora touched her shoulder. Because Papa never gave up. She didn't stay long. But as she left, she turned and said, I hope you find peace. We already found ours. Years later, Adora and Uche sat on the rooftop of their home, watching the Lagos skyline. Adora had just been featured in Forbes Africa as one of the youngest billionaires. Yet, she still visited Ajegunle often, giving scholarships and feeding children. Uche still told his story to anyone who would listen, not to boast, but to remind them, never lose hope. You've changed the world, my child, Uche said. Adora smiled. I only followed your footsteps, Papa. They clinked glasses of Zobo and looked at the stars. Uche whispered, remember the night your mother left? I thought life had ended. Adora held his hand. But it was just the beginning. From the ashes of heartbreak, God built a legacy. And through pain, love bloomed stronger than ever. Hey besties, thank you all for the love and support. It means the world to me. Stay with me for more touching stories that speak to the heart. If you've watched up to this point, please subscribe to this channel to encourage us to create more heartfelt stories for you.